about strangers today a lot, and I am here actually to make very clear to you that there is one particular group of strangers that is extremely vulnerable in the world today, and it is an increasingly large group, and it is an increasingly vulnerable group. And these are, of course, the refugees, people fleeing conflict, people fleeing persecution, and we are living today actually in dramatic times when it comes to refugees, because we are now living through times where we have the largest displacement crisis in the world since the Second World War. More than 65 million people in the world, that is equivalent to the population of a country like France or indeed the UK, are today displaced by war, conflicts, persecution, and these are figures that we've never seen since the Second World War. So we were living through an enormous crisis when it comes to this. 1 in every 113 people on this planet is displaced by war, conflict, or persecution. Just think about this. This is an enormous number. In 2015, we have seen 24 people on average per day having to flee their homes, having to leave their homes because they are persecuted, because they live in conflict, because they are just forced to flee, because otherwise they would be at risk for losing their lives and things like that. Now, unfortunately, this group of people is increasingly exposed to prejudice, to racism, to xenophobia, and there's a large number of cliches about refugees and migrants, unfortunately, that go around now. And we had an interesting exchange with Yasmin Hussein from Amnesty International on this recently, and I'll name just a few. A few prejudices that are very persistent here in Europe, and one of them is, well, all these refugees and all these migrants, they're all coming to Europe. We can't take them anymore. That's one of them. Another big one is a lot of these refugees and migrants are terrorists, and our security is at risk. That's one of the things you can hear a lot as well. Another cliche as well is well, all these people are coming to Europe and they're all taking our jobs. Now, how can we what can we actually do? And that was also the brief I got from Cameron. What are 2 things that states or indeed we as individuals can do to get rid of these cliches and to make sure that hatred, bigotry, all these negative things do not persist, that we can indeed accommodate people that are fleeing wars and persecution. Now, there's a few simple things, and I'm glad to say to hear here that a lot of people insist on the fact that we need to get our facts right. And let's think about this for a moment, for example. So, if we think about the cliche, all the refugees and migrants are coming to Europe and we are being completely washed away. This is not a fact. Only 6% of the world's displaced people actually find refuge in Europe, which is a small minority. 90% of refugees and migrants are mostly in developing countries, mostly in the countries surrounding the conflict areas, and then we're talking about countries like Lebanon, Turkey. Let's think about this. This is quite a relative thing that you need to think about. The people that are coming here are putting us at danger because a great deal among them might be terrorists. Now, just look at the vetting procedures that are already in place under the Geneva Conventions, under European asylum law. If you are a refugee from Syria and you're coming to Belgium, or you're coming to the UK, or you're coming to Germany, you get vetted. These procedures take months. You have to submit a lot of documents. You are interviewed hours on end. So you are really vetted. I mean, the system that's in place is already quite watertight. Refugees and migrants are taking our jobs. I think if you look at the German situation, in Germany actually, what happened is that a lot of industry leaders and a lot of businesses actually welcomed this opportunity to receive all these refugees and migrants, because they might bring skills or they might bring talents that they actually entirely need in Germany. So this, I cannot. So one of my main things, my main points is let's get our facts right. Lord Williams has referred to a lot of untruths that have been in media recently and things like that. I think that's very true, and we need to get our facts right. So that's my first point. The second point is, I think to a certain extent, many people have lost their curiosity about the other or about the stranger. And I happen to have a lot of speaking engagements in various settings, and there's a lot of people. I remember very clearly in the village where I live. I did this little thing in the community center, and there were a lot of elderly people there, and they say, "But oh yes, okay, that's all good. So it's actually these refugees. It's not too bad that they are coming here, but what can we then do for them?" And then actually, as it happens, we are now in a situation in Europe, especially where most towns and cities have refugees in them, and it's very simple to reach out to them and to volunteer and to help them with going to the supermarket, help them with administrative things and stuff like that. Because I mean, these people don't need money; they need somebody that they can have a conversation with. Somebody that could help them a little bit with the practical things and stuff like that. And in my experience, this is more valuable than giving these people money or than giving refugees a lot of facilities and things like that, is that human contact is really essential. So the second thing for me is that we're now in a situation where actually we as individuals can very easily reach out to the other and reach out to the stranger. So, and what I see consistently is that this breaks barriers, and it's very easy. I mean, I had one instance of an elderly lady in my village that after this lecture she went off and helped a Sudanese family in my village with going to the laundrette and things like that, and they become good friends. So very personal. It is very easy to forge these personal relations with strangers, and barriers are very easily broken. So I guess that's my point. Now, to conclude, getting the facts right, bringing the strangers closer to the population, or bringing the stranger closer to the individual. One of the main things that we're doing here, and I'm very glad to see that the Inspired Dialogue Foundation is putting such a big emphasis on education, is at UNHCR at the moment we are developing a worldwide education platform on refugees, migrants and asylum. And we've just launched this on our global website. The objective there is actually to offer to teachers the tools and the facts and figures that they need to instruct their pupils in primary education and secondary education, to get the facts right, to bring this big issue to the classroom, and to actually start educating our youngsters, our children, about this very important issue from a very young age, because it is there, and I very firmly believe this, it is there that we actually create minds that are open to the strangers, and hopefully this will also improve our attitudes towards the stranger in the future. Thank you.